So now we're just going to attach the little circuit that we've made to our pins 5 and 6. Oh, sorry about losing focus there. And now we just need to hook up our ground. Okay, next we need to do is put our heatsink back on and start tuning. Okay, so what we need to quickly do is do our region mod. Now some of these MegaDrive motherboards don't have this capacitor, but mine does. And what we need to do is there's a link here between this jumper 3 line, and there's also a link in the jumper 2 line. So we actually need to cut those out. We need to break them. So hopefully you'll be able to see, but I'm just going to use my sharp blade and just put a few little cuts in. Now with our traces cut, we just need to go and put some solder onto these points to prepare them for our wires. Okay, so now that we've cut the tracks on our little jumper section here, we need to attach some wires on it. Now this is for the switch for 50 and 60 Hertz, and it's also for the region selection, so for your English or Japanese language selection. So what I've gone ahead and done is I've gone and prepped 2 switches. Now, as I've said in my other videos, I do recommend that you have your switches mounted first. For this particular MegaDrive, I actually have other plans for it, so that's why all of this is sort of hanging out of it. But anyway, if you get 2 switches and you wire them up like this, so in my case I've got a red wire on the outside, a blue wire in the middle, and a black wire on the other side. Now, whatever colours you want to use is fine if you've got different coloured cable, but just try and follow this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop that out of the way, and I'm just going to attach the other end, some wires here, the other end of my switch. Right, so first up I'm going to attach my red wire, and that's going to go onto this leg of this capacitor. Let's put a little bit of heat in there. There we go. Right, so it's a red wire attached. Then I'm going to attach the black wire, which goes to this point just next to it. Okay, and lastly I'm just going to attach my blue wire, which goes on the other side of this of jumper 2 here. Okay, so that's one done. And like I say, if you've got different coloured wiring, that's okay, just translate it over. Right, so now I've got another switch wired exactly the same way. So for me, blue in the middle, red on one side, black on the other. And these, by the way, these switches are what's called break before make switches. These are also single pole double throw. So if you go to if you're looking for the switches, go to Google, type in SPDT, as in single pole double throw, and that should get you onto the right type of switch. And the break before make ones means that when you're switching from one side to the other, it actually breaks contact before it makes contact. So that means you can actually flick the switch while the machine's running, because switches that aren't break before make, you do run the risk of shorting something out when you're switching it over. So anyway, we'll carry on and get this soldered in. So, in this block of connectors up here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to attach my red wire. Is just going to go just above the blue wire for the other switch, as you can see there, and our blue wire is going to go just above that. That's going up to the centre of our switch, and finally the black wire. Just goes over on the other side. Okay, so now that I've got my switches in place, I can, that's the regioning and 50-60 Hertz sorted out. I've got my little crystal circuit installed, and we should be ready to give this a test now. Okay, so here we are. We're still got our machine sort of apart, and we've got our switches just dangling out of the machine, and as you can see in here, our little crystal circuits in there. Now, by building this circuit without using an actual PCB for it, it means that I can actually have the trim cap pointing out towards me, so I can have the factory heat shielding on and I can still tune it, because when you go to tune these, you need to spend a bit of time doing it, and we don't want our voltage regulators there to overheat, and believe me, they do heat up quite quickly. So by doing it this way, I can just poke a screwdriver in, give it a little bit of a tweak, and get our colouring right. So I've got our power on, we've got our RCAs hooked up. Now I'm going to use, this is Streets of Rage, and I'm going to use this title because it's nice and colourful, but also when it's in a Japanese language, it's called bare knuckle. So it's a good way to test and see whether our language switch is working. And now it's running in 60 Hertz because we don't have the borders anymore, and we're also called bare knuckle, so we're set to Japanese. Hey, here's something interesting, guys. Colour wise, this is supposed to be a mess, so either I've fluked the trim settings already, or I don't know. Okay, well, I'll try our other switch. Nothing happens, so that's probably our language switch. So I'll just turn the machine off, turn it back on. Streets of Rage, so that's our language switch. And there's our 50-60 Hertz switching. Amazingly though, the colour is perfect. So I'm just going to have a bit of a play around with that, and I'll be right back. Okay, I've had a bit of a play with this trim pot, and as it turns out that this TV just doesn't seem to care about colour burst frequencies. It you can flick it into 60 Hertz and it just works without fault. So I would imagine that when I get this machine home, I'm then going to have to tune it, because I'm pretty sure that this is just one out of the bag. So yeah, I've tried dialing the the trim around, and it just works. So I mean that's good for me, because hey, the mod works, no problem, but it doesn't help me because I was hoping to show you guys that you've got to just carefully with your screwdriver fine tune it until you get the colouring right. So in this case, because of my unusual test TV, you're gonna just have to take my word for it that that's all you need to do. So alright guys, thanks for watching. I'm off to enjoy some 60Hz goodness. So there you go, every TV I've tried it on works perfect.